Good morning, Aurelia Davids, the educator's educator, here on a Monday morning in Chicago, saying hello to my followers, say good morning to teachers and everybody that's listening or looking. I'm here just to say hello to you and just to hope that you had a beautiful weekend. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. I hope you had a restful weekend. But at the same time, here we are today, and we're starting a new week, and this is going to be Aurelia's Monday. I'm calling it my Monday. I'm going to be a little selfish this morning because what I want to do is I want to give you a little bit of background in my history and in my story as to how I got started as an educator, how I got started as an educator. First, I would like to give you a little family background. I am the daughter of Rosalie and Albert Jones. And I was born and raised in Chicago. I grew up in a neighborhood called North Lawndale. And I'm the second oldest of five girls. Well, my parents were very, very motivated as far as raising us and taking care of us. And that was something that we did love. And we, a lot of love in our household. Not always love, but in the meantime, we survived. The idea of becoming a teacher, I believe, was given to me because my mother's two sisters were also teachers. They had gone to college and became teachers. One aunt stayed in the field until she retired, but then the other aunt decided that she only wanted to do it for so long, and then she would I think she taught for about 4 or 5 years, and then she retired. So that was my first motivation, even thinking about becoming a teacher. At that particular time, there were no college graduates in my immediate family. My older sister, we were all, in high school at the time. But when my older sister graduated from high school, she did not pursue college. So I decided that I would. And I started out after graduating from high school in 1970. I decided to go to a junior college first just to get some classes in, and that was Wilson Junior College in Chicago at the time. Of course, the name has been changed 2 or 3 times, but at the same time, it was Wilson Junior College. And this is where you were able to go to college at a low tuition, and you were able to, complete it, which was good. So, of course, after the interesting thing, my mother always made the statement to her daughters once we graduated from high school, either continue to go to school or to work. Well, I did not necessarily want to work. So I decided that I was going to pursue a field in education. I would continue my education. So I started out and I started going to Wilson Junior College. It was on the south side of Chicago. Didn't have a car. So I was on the bus, during the wintertime and summertime and whatever, and took my classes. And I did pretty good in them. I did find that I did love college life. I did love attending classes. It was a level where I had never been before, so it felt good. I was able to get good grades, which pleased my mom a whole lot and everything. And I was always encouraged by my mother and my aunts to keep doing this. So when I finally did graduate in 1975, well, I went to junior college first, and then after junior college, I went on to what was called the Chicago Teachers College. At that particular time, Chicago had a specific college just for people that wanted to go into the field of teaching. And so all the classes were geared toward those individuals, and they took classes that would gear them and put them into a field of teaching. At that time, the field of teaching was full and then not full. There was a tendency of teachers retiring, but teachers went into the field of teaching in Chicago as early as in their 20s. I had some teachers when I was going to school. There were some teachers that taught me that were in their 20s, especially in the high schools. They were in their 20s, so they went straight into the field of education. And so it was encouraged. And the other thing, usually African Americans at that time either went into the field of teaching or they went into the field of social work, or they became social workers. And I felt that these were two very valuable professions, for the simple reason that coming through the 60s and the 70s, and at that particular time, African Americans, those were the professions that were needed for African Americans: social workers and teachers, especially because we were able to give young people what they needed in order to thrive, for them to grow and do other things. And so teachers and social workers were the most prominent fields that African Americans went into at that time. I chose the field early childhood, which was just coming about at that particular time. The state of Illinois and throughout the United States, they had started to develop child care centers and daycare centers that were learning platforms for little children or young children. And so that was a new field coming into the 70s that I felt I wanted to work with, because I wanted to be that first individual that taught children, the first individual that taught the babies. So my career and my bachelor's degree was in early childhood, and I had the opportunity. I would be working with children birth through 3. But at the same time, in the elementary schools, I could teach up to 3rd grade. So my major was early childhood education, and it was a lot of people going into that field at the time. At one time, I thought and felt that I wanted to open a daycare center. I wanted to open a daycare center at the time. But that sort of went out of my mind after I saw that there were a lot of people were doing basically the same thing. And then I also felt that it was very important for me to get my career started and to get the experience of teaching in a classroom. So that's why I decided to teach for Chicago Public Schools. When I graduated in 1975 from Chicago State University, which was still Chicago Teachers College, the field of education was full. There were teachers everywhere, teachers everywhere, and especially in the city of Chicago. So when you went downtown or when you went to central office to apply for a position, all they really could do was give you, allow you to be a substitute in the classrooms. And that was very rigorous because that meant you were going from school to school, classroom to classroom, and you did not have a permanent position. Well, at the time, I felt that that's something I did not want to do. I wanted a classroom. I wanted to get in and start my career. I had a passion to start the career, so I wanted that classroom. So I did get my certificate, but I opted not to be a substitute. But what I did do is I did a lot of other little jobs. I was a receptionist at a medical center. I did teach at a child development center that was for special children. And then I did secure a position at one of the junior colleges as a child development teacher in the child development department. And during that time, we were the learning tool where teachers from the education department would come down and they would observe us. They would observe us in the classroom. And of course, we were doing the basic skills of child development and how to conduct a child development class, how to teach child development, how to run a classroom for 3-year-olds and 4-year-olds and 2-year-olds. And so I did that for a while. Then I did also get the experience of being a recruiter for Girl Scouts of Chicago. So what I did during that time is that I trained I recruited and trained adult volunteers. I continued to work with youth. So all of my jobs throughout this time, I'm working and connecting with children. I'm connecting with youth. I'm connecting with their babies. And so that just gave me more experience and more challenges as to what I was doing. And I was able to I did love it. I did love doing what I was doing. So I worked for Girl Scouts of Chicago for a while, recruited volunteers, did training, took children to Great America. We did it and we had fun. we did, and we had fun. Well, in the 80s, CPS basically recruited. They were asking for teachers. So seeing that I had my certificate in place, what I did is I went back downtown and I was able to secure a position almost immediately. Well, at that time, because there was a somewhat shortage in the system, schools would recruit you and hire you, but you were not necessarily guaranteed that position. And so the first year I found that it was very safe for me to have a box of my belongings by the door, because I never knew where I was going to be on the next day. I always kept a box. So I worked at a school that was located in my neighborhood first, and I worked with first graders and kindergartners, and I loved it, working with these children. Working with the first graders in the afternoon, I had a tendency of doing a little bit more one-on-one with these children because they were behind in skills. So I was able to work with them. And then I did do what I love. I worked with the kindergartners. I worked with kindergarten, and I love working in that area. And then I went all the way to the north side, and I was able to get into a field of, I started working with 7th and 8th graders. Well, that was not my path, and that was not my degree, but at the same time, you worked where you were needed. So I was able to get that going, and then after that, I ended up at my home school, where I worked for over 27 years. And during that time, I worked with 2nd and 3rd grade, but I taught 3rd grade more than I taught any other grade. The 3rd grade position was open, and I worked with another friend of mine, and we just did a fantastic job working with our 3rd graders for years and years and years and years. And I loved it. Going into the field of education, like any other field, there are no straight roads. You're going to have to detour to the left and detour to the right. But as long as you come back to that main road that leads you to the path of what you're doing, teaching was always my passion. It was always going to be my passion. I couldn't see myself doing anything else. And because I loved it so, that's why I was able to stay. With the valleys and the mountains in place, and strikes and things like that, I was still able to stay in that field because I loved it. And more importantly than anything else, I love children. I thought and believed that they deserved the best. And for me, I was considered the best. I thought myself to be the best. So that's what I did. I would do it all over again. If I had the opportunity. But at this time, what I'm choosing to do is to help teachers that are in the field. If you are a teacher that needs support, I'm asking that you go over to my website, AureliaDavis.com, sign up to talk to me, and I will support you. I'll be that support system that you need. I'll be that support system that you want. I'll show you what needs to happen in order for you to be successful in the career of teaching. This has been Aurelia Davis. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.